Welcome to Mediumship Matters, the podcast dedicated to spiritual growth, connection, and the reality of working with spirit. This season is proudly sponsored by Spirit Social, the brand new online community for the spiritually curious. It's a space where you can connect, share experiences, and access exclusive content without the noise of mainstream social media. With live events, expert insights, and a supportive community, Spirit Social is the place to deepen your journey. Take part in the free 6-month trial by visiting spiritsocial.co or downloading the app from the App Store now. Hello, and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. How are you doing? I lied to you all. I said that I was going to get back to listener questions. Sorry, Chloe, I haven't forgotten you. I am tumbling through an abyss of a lesson still. Yes, it's to do with the nose. No, it's also not to do with the nose. Yes, it's to do with fraud. No, it's not to do with fraud. But I just think when I'm in the energy of it, it's better. It might not make such a cohesive and polished podcast, but it's better for you guys to hear it when I'm in it, rather than when I've kind of come out of crisis. I'm not really in a crisis. I'm fascinated. I'm uncomfortable. And that is the topic of this podcast. Discomfort in mediumship, and how important and necessary being able to sit in discomfort is. Now, as I think I've waffled on about on the podcast, you guys know, since the start of 2024, I've been on a real diet and fitness journey for me. And I have really pushed myself in that, and it's been really good for me. It's given me so many things that I didn't realize I was missing, mainly human contact. I think when you're self-employed and you don't have a lot of friends in the area and life is busy and you work, you end up kind of on your own a lot. And so it's been really wonderful for me having that connection. But this is the way that spirit lessons kind of work and ricochet through some of the non-spiritual moments. So I'm going to try and tell you some of the stuff that's been going on and how it all correlates. So first things first, at the gym. I have been pushing myself very hard at the gym. And one of the things that I finally understood about exercise, which I never did, and I was the kid at school who was in the flounders in the swimming team because I couldn't swim. We had a swimming pool at our school. It was humbling. I would never even try and run. I would walk at the back really slowly, like pedantically slowly. I never wanted to push myself. So I never thought that I would be the kind of person that's really into fitness. It just wasn't part of my reality at all. And so I understand completely the resistance people have to putting in effort. Now, I understand the resistance they have to getting to the gym, but also I understand the resistance they have when they get to the gym. And in that weird way that spirit talk to you through people, I was picking up some weights in the weight room before a class, and a lady who attends all the time, many of the same classes as me, said, "Oh, you're doing so well with your weights. I wish that I could do so well with my weights." And I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And she said, "I'm doing 1.5s, but I've been on 1.5s for 5 years." And I said, "Oh, well, maybe it's time that you, maybe today you could do 2s." I said, "Because that's all that I did, is I just kept pushing myself." And she went, "No, not today." And I completely understand that. I completely understand that being in the discomfort of lifting a heavier weight, for that to then become the norm, is hard. I do completely understand that. But doesn't that transfer to mediumship? doesn't that transfer to people joining groups and signing up and kind of expecting spirit to make it pain-free, discomfort-free? And one of the things that I've had to really learn as a teacher is, and as a medium, that not everybody is ready for the lesson. And what does that mean when you are relying on this as a form of income? The second thing that's been happening is I had a chat with one of my mentorship students, Tamsin. Hey, Tamsin. And we were talking about card readings. She wanted to focus on card readings. So we've been really focusing on that and getting those improved for her. And we've had a discussion, and she said something which I think is really fascinating. She said, do you know, I'm now wondering if every reading I ever had that I thought was good was only good in the moment because it told me what I wanted to hear. Because when I look back, nothing that those card readers told me was going to happen has happened. But in the moment, I'd have told you it was great. And I said, well, isn't that the rub? Isn't that the problem? And this is something that I think faces all mediums, all healers, and all teachers of mediumship, is the fact that people do not want to be uncomfortable. People want you in a card reading, not all people, obviously, but the general public want you to tell them that everything's going to be okay with zero effort from them on their part. If we could boil down everything, it would get to that. And it's a fascinating thing when you are running a business and reliant on reviews and people's thoughts. It's a funny conundrum because obviously we stay true to spirit. Well, do we? Do all of us? And that's the question. I think there's a lot of people working out there as readers who are very psychic, very aware of what the person wants to hear, and are just telling them what they want to hear. And so if you've had readings like that, where someone is like, yeah, Prince Charming's coming, he's going to be a millionaire, you can give up your job, you're going to live most of the year on a yacht cruising around in the sun. If you're told that, or some version of that, that's an extreme one, but you know what I mean, and it doesn't happen, do people reflect back? Or do they just go into the law of attraction gaslighting that they must have done something wrong? Am I making sense? I hope so. So there's that going on there of really, as a medium working with people, you have to learn to sit in their discomfort. You have to learn to perhaps give them the messages they don't want to hear. You have to learn to speak the truth as you receive it in a kindly and loving and supportive way, but still the truth, even if you know it's not what they want to hear. Have any of you seen that clip of the lady with the dowsing rods? I don't know where she was. I'm assuming it was TikTok, but it could, of course, be anywhere. And she's doing questions, and someone sort of says, "Will I ever meet another partner?" And she gets a no, and she's just so, "No, sorry, love, no, you're going to be on your own." And it's hilarious because it's so brutal. But she's staying true to the reading now. Obviously, I'm not going to digress. Well, I am, because I can't help myself. Dowsing rods, pendulums, they only read the energy of the moment. They don't tell the future. And so therefore, at the moment, it's a no. Here's the things you need to do to be able to change that energy might have been slightly more helpful. But, that just shows the caliber of stuff that's out there. It's fascinating. And I really feel that this is it's just fascinating being a human being in the spiritual space, and the bounce back that you have between the two sides of you. Because one of the things that I've really noticed is that a lot of my work as a teacher is triggering people, is telling them sometimes what they don't want to hear, is it's not being unkind. And I think that's really important to say. I've had some teachers that have been very unkind to me. It's not about being unkind, but it is about uh, pushing back. And if your student has something that you don't agree with, challenging their thinking and not just going, yeah, lovely. But I can't deny that there is a part of me that would sometimes like to be, oh, yeah, lovely. And I guess from my point of view, I'm lucky. And I'm lucky in the sense that I really believe that anybody can do this. And I really believe that with training, anybody can do this well. I really believe in my students when they are saying they want to set up as mediums. I really can see them doing it. But it's my job as a teacher to take them from, for want of a better expression, playing at mediumship and learning mediumship into professional mediumship. And they are different energies and they need different approaches. And sometimes taking them through that process makes them uncomfortable, and it makes me uncomfortable too. I don't know where to go with this first. I know what I'm going to talk to you about. So last July, I hosted an in-person retreat, and it was a really fascinating. I'd done one the year before, very different group of people, very different energies, very different needs. And so if you've ever done an in-person retreat with me, you will know that I give you a rough schedule, but I say very clearly, this is not set in stone. It groups change, the energy of the group changes what we need. And I say that for a very specific reason, because the energies of groups have very different experiences needed in their development. And this group was a real set of people who are moving into the professional zone, moving out of student space, moving into professional space. And it was the most fascinating thing. It was like cracking them open. The energy was almost thick. It was so healing. It was so profound. Everything that we did just seemed to have this huge weight and unfoldment behind it. It was intense. It really, really was. It was less, I don't know, less peace. It's supposed to be peace and practice retreat. Less peace, more being smacked about by energy and smacked about by lessons and smacked about by learning. Really, really fascinating to sit in and be a part of. And one of the things that I had to teach them was sitting in discomfort and being professional with it. A great example of this is we did this healing meditation, and one of the students had a really deep, really profound experience and a real outpouring of emotion and reflection and energy was coming out of her when we came back. So she kind of, we always shared what had happened, what we'd seen. And she had this she was crying and she wanted to talk through it. And I always have absolute faith in spirit's process and energy. So she was crying and talking through all this stuff. And it's always been my thing that even when I was a healer, a Reiki healer, if somebody is having a sort of eruption of things that they need to talk through, I trust that process. I trust the energy that spirit has put them in. I try the hardest I can to not involve my energy in it at all. And I think this is perhaps a big gap in a lot of people's knowledge. So if I was doing Reiki healing on somebody and they set up and started crying or sobbing, I would pull my energy back because I wouldn't want to get in the way of the process of the Reiki energy. I would not try and wade in. One of my students, God, right at the beginning of my journey, worked as a therapist, and we were talking about this very thing, trusting in the energy, trusting in the process. And she said, oh, it's just like in therapy. We never offer anybody a tissue. We have them there so they can take one, but we never offer it to them because there's an implication there of stop crying, clear your tears away. And that's always stuck with me. So I have never offered anybody a tissue ever since then. If you want a tissue, go find one, ask for one, but I will not do it. And it's the same for me with energetic contact. You do not put your energy into that mix that has been made so precisely and so perfectly by spirit. And you do not put your physical self in that space. So this wonderful person was having a big eruption of thoughts, process, energy. And my job in that is to hold space. And I don't mean in that, I'm holding space. I mean what it really means. And what holding space really means is exactly that, maintaining the space, not getting involved energetically, not putting yourself into it, trusting that that space as it is divine and perfect and exactly how it's supposed to be, and staying out of the rest of it. And my view is that it's really important that all of the other students understand holding space. And they didn't. And so I'm sure from the other students' point of view, they thought I was being really cold because I didn't really speak, because I didn't want my thoughts, my questions, my verbalizations energetically in that space. I didn't move. I really didn't move. I stayed completely still. I didn't even scratch an itch because I didn't want my energy, my movement to change or shift the process that the student was going through. I didn't touch her, even though she was crying, because I trusted the process, the space, and I also trusted her to say if she needed a hug, but that would have been outside of the room afterwards, not when we're in it. And some of the students, with the best will in the world, went over and wrapped their arms around her and hugged her and said, oh, they're there. And I went absolutely ballistic. I was so cross about it that Amanda hid in the broom cupboard because she knew I was going to erupt, because I just went, what are they doing? And it was I think it was really important, but I'm not going to lie, it was uncomfortable for me. I was in discomfort because the human part of me could feel that the student was upset, could feel that they were sharing stuff. I could feel the judgment of everybody of why I wasn't talking, why I was holding a quiet space, why I wasn't moving. I could feel everyone being like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? And it was really difficult. I have no doubt that that student was thinking, why is Hannah not really talking? Why is Hannah just letting me carry on talking? because I was. If you went to therapy and you were talking through something, your therapist would just let you talk and talk and talk and talk. And that's the therapy thing, but it's also an energy thing. I was letting her go through her process, didn't want to put me into it. And trying to explain that to the students, I think it was a real penny dropping moment for a lot of them. And I've never mentioned it on here because I have felt uncomfortable about it. I know that my job as a teacher is to teach those lessons, but I don't like teaching those lessons. I understand the value and the importance of them because this is all what it takes to be a proper professional medium or healer, but I don't like being the one to teach it. I want to be friends with everybody. But God bless her, because for the rest of that retreat and ever since, I've been thinking, I wonder if she feels let down by me. I wonder if she feels like I'm cold, that I'm uncaring. I wonder what her take on that was. And she's really sat with it. And she wrote me a beautiful thank you card with some artwork in it, telling me that that was a really transformational experience for her. It just arrived last week. So isn't that really kind of incredible that for a year, I've been thinking, I hope I did the right thing, and questioning it and going, but I really believe that lesson is important. I really believe that's a really valuable, important lesson that all healers need to learn. But does she understand why I did it? Does she think I'm horrible? Does she feel judged? Am I too cold? Have I gone too far into this lesson? And all of this stuff. So it was such an amazing thing to get that letter, that card, and to know that it was the right move, because you don't often get that as a teacher, or quite often you don't know if you've made the right move. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about, your job as a medium, and really sitting with, on your job as a healer, what you think that is. And if you are saying that you're fixing people or you're taking away their grief, I think that might be a problem. Because I think our job is holding a space for them. I do not expect any reading that I do to take away somebody's grief. It might give them some comfort in their grief, but it doesn't take away their grief. Their person they love is still gone. They're no longer in the physical. They're still going to grieve for them. When I'm healing somebody, my belief is you are giving them a space and an energy to help them learn to heal themselves. So you don't need me wading in. I don't want a codependent relationship where you feel like you need me to heal. If you want me to help you heal, that's fine. But if you think that you need me, that is dangerous. It's not how it should be. And that is uncomfortable because people want to be liked. I want to be liked. And I know that sometimes it leaves people feeling rejected. But it's the job. It's the job. And I really think this hit home for me on the shamanic learnings that I did with Lynn Gosney and Bruce Scott. I really think that that was the lesson. And I've never been able to kind of articulate it to myself so clearly before. But what they taught me was sitting in discomfort. That's what it was. It was inescapable discomfort. It's the same thing about letting fellow students get no's, giving no's when you're being a practice sitter, and the importance of that. Because it is uncomfortable for you. It's uncomfortable for them, but they've got to learn to sit in it. They've got to learn to work through it. We've all got to learn to sit in discomfort, whether we're doing healing, whether we're doing mediumship, whether we're doing card readings. If you can't sit in the uncomfortable, if you can't work that muscle of discomfort, even if it hurts, even a little bit, that is a problem. Because that is how I think we've ended up with a plethora of teachers and mediums that make people feel good in the moment, but over a long period of time, they don't progress, they don't grow, because it becomes codependent. Because that teacher makes you feel good. So when you go away without any of the discomfort and without the list of things you need to work on and without that energy, you go back to your life, you feel good for a bit, then normal world creeps in. You go back to that medium because they made you feel good, and you end up in this strange relationship. I hope I'm making sense. I hope this isn't really dull. I just really think it's a fascinating energy that's coming in of understanding what it's all about. And it is about being uncomfortable. And this is the thing, we all understand that as an idea over here. I'm never going to feel ready. Got that. But I don't feel ready. Okay, well, you're never going to feel ready, but I don't. Well, you understand that idea that you're never going to feel ready. Yeah, but I don't feel ready. Yeah, but you're never going to feel ready. And we cycle around in stuff like that. And it's nice, isn't it? It's nice to be able to read for people and tell them what they want to hear. That's nice. But is it true? I did a reading for a lady yesterday, and it was so funny. It was a card reading, and I always do the next 5-6 months energies, and then they have a chance to ask questions. And there was some really sticky energy, not moving, challenging months ahead. And I was going through them with her, and then all of a sudden the energy lifted, and we understood what it was all for and how it was going to work out and blah blah blah. And I said to her, thank goodness for that. I said, at one point I was getting really worried that it was all going to be just really challenging for the next 6 months. But I would have, if that's what I'd got, that's what I'd have given. I would have said it. And she would probably have left that reading and gone, well, that was rubbish. That's not what I wanted to hear. Equally, though, does it really resonate when somebody tells you that next month all your problems are going to get magically disappeared? Does it? I don't know. It's fascinating. So that's the job, I think. I think that's the work. I've always said we always want mediumship to be out there to spirit and all paths lead in to us. I've always known that, but that is where the discomfort is. That's like the shamanic work. It wasn't about escaping and going off with spirit. It was about sitting with myself in uncomfortable situations and not running away, fighting my own fight or flight. I mean, I think I've told you all this, but there was one day where I was so triggered by the teachers, and they were needling me and needling me. I laugh about it now because God knows what my face looked like. I was fuming. And then we were out driving in the cars, and I'd driven all the way there. And then we ended up driving to we were about 4 minutes away from my house. And it felt like the universe was saying, just go home. Fuck this. You don't need these lessons. They're assholes. Fuck them. I was so angry. And somehow, I stuck it out. I stuck it out I stuck it out like a sullen teenager on a country walk. I was mardy and snappy. I had big sunglasses on. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I stuck it out, but I was not the good vibes in the room. And then I went back all the way back to their centre, and we stayed the night. And in the morning, I really felt like I'd gone through something. And that was learning to not run away when the going gets tough. And that was probably the most, I'm getting emotional. That was probably the most valuable lesson I have ever been taught on my spiritual journey, was to stick it out. And I worry for the mediums that haven't been taught that by their teachers, whose teachers haven't learnt to stick it out, so therefore just tell them what they want to hear or keep them in that perpetual student loop. And what that's doing. So my plea is, if you're healing somebody and they sit up and they start crying or start talking about something traumatic, or even if they're talking about a lovely experience, stay quiet, observe, sit back. Do not put your arms around them. Do not touch them. Do not hug it all away, because it's like love, innit? Don't do it. Hold the space. Watch your own discomfort in that. Watch them go through the process. Be a professional. If you were a psychotherapist, you would not be hugging people. We are supposed to be professionals. That means we should be behaving professionally. And it's really important because it's an energetic thing that they are going through. And all you do when you get involved, whether you talk about it, whether you go, I mean, my God, I tell you the worst one while I'm moaning. The worst one is people going, oh, yeah, that happened to me. Let me tell you about myself. Putting all their energy of their trauma or their upset into their client who's just been healed. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hush. Hush your mouth. Hush your energy. Hush your physical contact. Sit still and listen. Hold a real space. I hope this makes sense. Hold a space for me now, because in this continuing quagmire of the message essentially being trust no one but yourself forever, I found out yesterday from somebody posting on Spirit Social that the telepathy tapes are very misleading. And I just wanted to say sorry to you guys because I recommended it on here. But although they talk a lot about how scientific their studies are, what they negate to mention is that the carers are not separate from the children. The carers are holding and touching the children. And that, so they're supposed to be reading their minds, but they've got some physical contact. And we all know that physical contact can give signals, even if they're micro movements. So it isn't as mind-blowing as I perhaps thought. Interestingly, the videos that show that are all hidden behind the paywall. Take from that what you will. But I have to say, in honesty, it's a simple Google and you can find out loads of information. I just didn't think to Google it. And this is really the lesson, isn't it? You just can't delegate these things out. You've just got to only talk about what you're experiencing or where you're at and your opinion and your view. You can't trust anything. So that's uncomfortable again for me, more sort of sitting in the discomfort of I guess for me, it's just I know that the telepathy tapes is not, mediumship people, but it's all that kind of feeling like there's another way, that they're tuning into an extra layer of energy or information, which is what I think the spirit world is. And they're you just expect these people to I don't know. I just expect people to I expect mediums who are I know that a lot of people say that we are, preying on the vulnerable and all of that stuff. But I just go, well, you don't understand. But actually, I'm increasingly beginning to think that these people that troll me have a point with the majority of the industry. So that's uncomfortable for me to have to tell you all, but I will always do these things. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I made you a mega fan. I was a mega fan. Um, Let that be a lesson to me to Google everything with fake written after it just to see what comes up. But who wants to be in that energy? I think I just want to be in the woods or by the sea, me and spirit. I can trust them, um, and everything else can wither away. Well, I hope this has been a good one. I don't know. It's I hope it's not been uncomfortable for you to listen to. Or maybe I do. Um, but it is a fascinating thing to think in. It's a fascinating thing to look at. And I think it's important to understand that your mediumship teachers should make you feel good, should make you feel empowered, should make you feel like they believe in you, but should also be triggering you a bit. That's the job. And I will see you all soon.